Hello, sports fans. It's July 24th, 2024. Welcome to Cleats by Dre. I'm Dre. Let's talk some sports. On this episode, we're going to do some baseball. It's post-All-Star break. It's a proper time to take stock of our local teams, who luckily for us are both in playoff positioning. The time's also opportune because we're in the middle of the Subway Series. I just watched the Mets hold off the Yanks 3-2. Close one in the Bronx. Likely remember some good, somewhat unlikely pitching performances. Jake Diekman in the ninth. I just say lucky for me, the Mets' base running blunders during the game didn't come back to haunt them. Timo Perez 2000 to anyone out there. All right, on to the episode. I'm going to make the case to you why the Mets are presenting as the more dangerous team of our two local teams as we hit the stretch. Call me the recency bias victim. I'll at least make the case. What we'll do first, we'll do a quick recap where the Mets stand, who I think their five most important players are for the second half of the year. Then we'll look at the Yankees lineup woes, compare their offensive makeup in particular to those of past World Series champs. Do a fun little dive through history. All right, let's go. So the Mets, 51-48, 52-48 after tonight's game. They've been up and down. They're in it now, right? Close in the wild card. Only a plus 12 run differential. I look at run differential because I think regardless if games are close, you're winning one-run games in the long run. I believe the sabermetrics. I believe you got to score a lot of runs over the course of the season. Fangraphs has their playoff odds at 43%. Okay. Championship odds at 2%. Okay. They've been hot lately, right? The Mets, on offense especially, since June 1st, they've scored the most runs in league. That's 42 games. That's a quarter of the season. That's a pretty sizable sample. They're middle of the pack in runs allowed, 13th. So some improvement needed on pitching and defense. Let's just jump in and take stock. I'll give you my five most important players, really 5.5 for the second half of the year. We'll go in reverse order for dramatic effect. So at 5, we'll do a 5A and 5B. I'll go with the young guns that have been hitting the ball. So Francisco Alvarez and Mark Vientos. The question is, can their hot recent starts be sustainable? So Alvarez, right, catcher, really good intangibles, coming up as a leader. His OPS, on base plus slugging percentage, right? It's a really important metric for those that don't know. It's basically on base percentages. How often do you avoid outs? You just get on base. Slugging percentage now brings power. How good are you at moving runners around the bases? Well, Alvarez's OPS is 797, really solid. It is propped up by his batting average is 279. And I'll give you a new stat here. Batting average on balls in play is 355. So every time he hits the ball, doesn't strike out or walk, does it get through the infield? Does it land or not? 355 is really high, not very sustainable. Is some regression coming? He's already in July. His batting average is down to 235 from 279. Lots of numbers there, but basically he's been a key. He's lengthened the lineup when he's come back. Can he keep that going? And Mark Vientos, who's been playing third base, through those that are following, right? He couldn't find a spot in spring training. Up and down from AAA. They thought he'd be a quadruple A player. His OPS is 887, 12 home runs. He's been crushing the ball. Again, batting average on balls in play of 338. That's high. Does he regress? Did the pitcher start figuring him out? Alvarez and Vientos, the big part of the Mets' longer lineup. They'll be big guys to watch. Number 4, let's go to Jeff McNeil. Really has not been the player he was in previous years, winning batting titles, making all-star teams last year and this year. He's been hot lately, 4 home runs since the all-star break. If he comes through and is a player we know him to be, it's a really balanced lineup, which we'll talk more about how important that is later in the episode. Number 3, let's call it middle reliever XYZ to be determined. There's a clear hole. The Mets' struggles have been with Diaz out. Even with Diaz is in, they're struggling to get in the right bridge. Nunez looks like a keeper. This is the biggest mark if Stearns is going to help this team, if David Stearns, and are they going to buy somebody? And I hope they do, and I think they will. Most important player number 2 the second half of the year, it is certainly their all-star Pete Alonso. First baseman on his contract year with the Mets. His power numbers are down this year. It's really been his worst Mets season of his career. Now I always thought, despite all the home runs he's hit, I always thought he was our number 5 or number 6 hitter on our championship team. I just didn't think he gets on base enough. He's always hit 4 for us. Can he turn it around? He's under a lot of pressure, right? You got Scott Boras as an agent, big contract year ahead. He might be pressing. Big couple months for Pete. And my number 1 most important player second half of the year is a pitcher who has not pitched yet. It's Kodai Senga. This rotation does need an ace. They have some depth. Severino's pitched well. Manaya too. Peterson's come up. This rotation needs an ace. And Senga was 7th in Cy Young balloting last year. Kind of under the radar year. If he can be that ace, team's even more dangerous. So the National League, look, it's top heavy. The Phillies and the Dodgers are the clear class. Who's next? Could it be the Mets? Maybe. This team kind of feels like 2015, right? A bit of a good offense came out of nowhere. Pitching has some, pitching's not as good as 2015, right? All those young guns, but maybe there can be something here. And by the way, anyone looking for a long shot bet, Francisco Lindor is 66-1 for MVP, NL MVP at DraftKings. Now Lindor, I've talked about in a past pod, he's been hot since moving to the top of the order. He's already almost got 20 home runs and 20 stolen bases. He is 3rd in the National League in wins above replacement. That's a really important stat. Obviously, Ohtani's number 1. Ellie De La Cruz is number 2. This is Ohtani's award to win or lose, but if he gets hurt, I don't wish that on anybody. If something comes out from that gambling probe, I'm just kidding. Nothing's going to come from that. But the point is 66-1 for a guy that's 3rd, most valuable by one metric, worth looking at. Okay, that's the quick one on the Mets. And let's go to the Yankees. Really fascinated by the Yankees, actually. And I'll be honest, I don't watch as much Yankees. But the stats are saying something. The Yankees actually have a plus 109 run differential. That's the best in the league. They've scored the most runs in the league so far. And the 6th fewest allowed. They're 98% to make the playoffs. 53% to win the division. 13% chance at winning the World Series right now. That's 3rd behind the Phillies and Dodgers. Now, stats are strange, though, right? Since June 1st, the Yankees are 4th in runs scored. They've also given up the 4th most runs in the league. So 4th in runs scored, you think this offense is humming. But anyone with eyes, right, there's something going on here. Luis Severino of the Mets, former Yankees pitcher, made some news recently saying his former team, the Yankees, only had 2 good hitters. Of course, Juan Soto and Aaron Judge. I mean, I saw the Yankees lineup tonight for the game. I saw a Jones batting leadoff at DH and a Narvaez at catcher. I didn't know who those guys were, and I think I know ball. It's like Spencer Jones called up, then I, remembered Jahmai Jones is on the Yankees. I guess he hits lefties okay. And Narvaez, did the Yankees sign Omar Narvaez when the Mets gave him up? It was not him. It was a Carlos Narvaez making his first start. So these are guys in the lineup, in good spots in the lineup. This is a very top-heavy lineup. And Soto and Judge are putting on incredible years. But Anthony Volpe's fallen off, right? The shortstop in his second year, he kind of feels like a 9-hitter on their championship team, right? Fast, can pop one every now and then. I mean, DJ LeMahieu hasn't hit since 2020 when he was fantastic, don't get me wrong, but injuries and hasn't hit since then. Verdugo has dropped off. And he hasn't really hit since 2020 either. There's a reason the Red Sox, were willing to give him up. I think Gleyber Torres is a critical one. He's been really good for them the last few years. Maybe he's pressing in the contract year. But all in all, there's something missing on these Yankees. And what I want to do is I want to tap into one of my theories about winning in baseball. Now, the old adage is pitching wins championships. I have a secret. It's actually offense that wins championships. Well, but both are important. But when I look at the last 10 World Series champions, from the 2023 Rangers to the 2014 Giants, I see teams that averaged to score the 5th most runs in a season and gave up on average the 7th fewest runs. So still, both are important. I don't want to be too cheeky. But scoring runs matters a lot. The Rangers last year scored the third most runs in the league and gave up the 13th most. Other examples throughout the last 10 years, the Astros in 2017 had the best offense, most runs, ninth fewest runs allowed. It's the old saying, pitching, right? You see the dominant pitchers do it, but you got to score more runs also. And actually, the best offenses do end up winning championships. But also, I don't think it's just good offenses on the surface. I don't think that's a complete enough theory or thesis. Because playoff baseball is different than regular season, right? So I wanted to look closer. I had another theory to test. I think good balanced offenses win championships. Now, some people rightly say baseball is not really a team sport. It's really a collection of individual events that we treat as a team. However, I think you could argue that it is a sport where the roster 1 to 26 is the most vulnerable. Holes in the lineup are automatic outs. Untrustworthy relievers, can't be brought in. I think that teams that win in October are balanced from 1 to 9 in the lineup, where it's hard to find those automatic outs. Think of the Angels in 2002, the Marlins of 2003, the Giants dynasty, the Royals in 2015, really even the Yankees from 96 to 2000. Lots of sound hitters, didn't strike out. There was balance. They were hitting singles. They were stretching from first to third. Every half inning, they were dangerous. You don't know when you're going to score in October. You can't give away outs. You can't give away innings. What I did to kind of help represent this is I looked back at the last 10 World Series champs again. I found balanced lineups. Now, I looked at the stat OPS plus. So bear with me. We talked about OPS, right? On-base percentage plus slugging percentage. Now, the plus is just a statistical way to compare each hitter to the league average. So the OPS plus of 120, for example, means the hitter is 20% better than the league average that year. And so what I saw when I looked at the 10 last winners, that all 10 of them had at least 6 above average hitters in their lineup. And 9 out of the 10 had 7. The one with 6 was the 2015 Royals, which really had an incredible combination of defense and speed and just overall team setup. So think of going back, right? The 23 Rangers had Corey Seager, but also had guys like Evan Carter and Nathaniel Lowe to round out that lineup. 22 Astros had Yordan Alvarez and Altuve, but also Michael Brantley, Jeremy Pena, guys like that. The 21 Braves, they replaced Acuna with a flurry of outfielders, Eddie Rosario, Jorge Soler, Adam Duvall. Depth. The 2020 Dodgers had Mookie and Corey Seager. They also had A.J. Pollock and Chris Taylor that were above average. The 2019 Nats had Rendon and Soto, a young Soto. They also had Howie Kendrick, Asdrubal Cabrera, guys that just were above average and hit. We'll keep going. The 2018 Red Sox, Mookie, J.D. Martinez. They also had Benintendi and Brock Holt. The 17 Astros had Jose Altuve, Carlos Correa. They also had Josh Reddick, Yuli Gurriel, Marwin Gonzalez, and trash cans. Yes, they had trash cans. We have to mention that. That's helpful to win too. The 2016 Cubs, Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, but also a young Wilson Contreras and a Tommy La Stella. Depth. We're going to skip the Royals. I don't need to relive that. 2014 Giants dynasty, right? They had Buster Posey, but a ton of guys like Brandon Belt and Brandon Crawford. And even if you look back, Yankees fans, to the 2009 team, A-Rod and Teixeira were at the top of their game. But 8 out of your 9 were above average. Matsui, Posada, Jeter, Damon, Swisher. 7 of the 9 had OPS plus is actually over 120. Now today's Yankees, they have 3 above average hitters this year. One of them's injured. It's Stanton. Now Ben Rice can maybe make 4. He's starting to hit. The catchers, Wells and Trevino, are right at average. Maybe Dominguez, right? Jason Dominguez. Maybe he's a hope to return soon. I just think there's going to be a lot of pressure on Judge and Soto come October. Lots of pitching around. Lots of innings where there's not a lot of hope for runs. The Mets, 9 guys with OPS above 100. 9 above average hitters. And that's not counting Jeff McNeil if he's resurgent. That's a dangerous lineup. So look, there's still a week to the trade deadline. Will Cashman make a move? I think they need bats, plural. And the Yankees have the front line starting pitching to lean on. They're going to be good. But look, offense wins championships, especially balanced offenses. And the most balanced offense in New York City, it resides in Flushing. All right, folks, a little baseball there. Enjoy the second Subway Series game tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of the summer, boys of summer. Please continue sharing, rating, reviewing. Hope you're enjoying the podcast. Okay, take care.